Mic check. That's working just fine. Okay. And we are live. We are live. Listen, you know I am not one for intros, so let's just dive in to it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is the Illicit Therapy. It has all of these videos archived for your viewing pleasure. It goes back pretty far too. These subjects are definitely interesting. Don't want to try to make this all long and drawn out, but we'll see how this goes. Because every time I say I don't want this long and drawn out, the inevitable happens. It becomes long and drawn out. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to make another video regarding more gaming news. And today we have some interesting things that I've run across. So we better go into it. So two subjects here that we have. The first subject that we have is why Japan ditched home consoles. I know there's been a lot of rhetoric about how it was actually Sony that ditched all of these that ditched Japan. And every one of you motherfuckers that had a problem, I'm gonna need you guys to apologize. To Sony for blaming them and saying that they are deliberately abandoning home consoles, or Japan rather, just to chase the Western market. So this is very interesting here. Square Enix is actually the one that finally kind of comes out of nowhere and says what is going on with their shit. They basically say this. I'm going to actually pull it up here thanks to Guapzilla. I certainly didn't want to dig through this. And this is my first time actually reading this, by the way. Achieving major growth in the industry is difficult now for companies that compete primarily in the Japanese market. Given its graying demographics, old, I guess the graying means they're getting older, right? As such, it is critical for our business that we produce hit titles that speak to the global market, which offers greater scale in terms of both customers and sales volumes. So they're looking to reach more people. Let's just read that there. Furthermore, game development efforts are becoming more sizable and sophisticated, i.e. larger and more expensive, as the result of technological advancements in the devices on which they are played, such as consoles or smart devices. These devices are basically getting more and more technically proficient. See how this looks here. Damn it, I hate when... Can we zoom in? Yeah, this is good. I think this is good. I gotta really resize that window because I don't know how to really do this shit. I'm gonna shrink this a little bit more. Bitch. See what they say. I really gotta fix that. I'll do that later. I guess ain't no way to flip and scroll up. Anyway, in other words, the Japanese market is no longer sufficient for achieving a level of earnings that enables us to recoup our development investments and generate a profit. And we therefore need to approach our development efforts based on the assumption that we have succeeded in the global market. Now, shout out to Guap. Shout out to Chris Righteous. He is a definite guy that is he loves his Japanese shit. Just put it that way. Like he wasn't happy about Sony's efforts and how they're actually directing their shit. He wasn't happy about that shit, and I get it. I totally understand it. Here's the thing, right? I've been saying this over and over again, and people have been saying that I've been fanboying for companies, and that's not what I'm doing at all. But sometimes you got to come to the realization that you can companies, everyone's looking for money, especially in this day and age. It's getting bad. It's getting real bad for everyone. It's not a good thing, man. Everyone's looking into the future, and they gotta act now on. They can't fuck up, and what they're doing is they are preemptively, right? They are preemptively making sure that they will not lose money. In the event that they start losing money, they'll be already prepared for those particular times because they have already adjusted and they can work that way. So when Sony abandoned, right, because that was the trend there too. And it's like apparently companies have to be charity cases. When they abandoned Japan, right, and I air quotes if you can't see me on YouTube, right? When they abandoned Japan, it was for a very specific reason, right? I say this all the time. Oh, Sony is not, they don't care. Why are they not catering to us? I don't understand. They have enough money. They should be able to do it. They should be able to do it. No, they shouldn't be able to do it. Because that'd be the equivalent of saying, hey, let me move into your house, right? You have enough money. You have a specific budget that you can't go over. And although you probably could have another person living in your home, don't mean you want them siphoning your money, siphoning your food, siphoning the electricity and shit like that. You can't expect someone to just give away fucking money. When you look at McDonald's and that McRib, right? They'll come out with this shit as a novelty. But in actuality, no one wants to eat that fucking McRib. They don't want to eat that sandwich. It's not enough people asking for that sandwich unless they're trying to do a publicity stunt, which you see that they released that McRib. They, in essence, right, can't waste no money. Everybody has to be conservative with the amount of money that they spend, and that's what's going on now. We are going head first into a depression. Period, point blank. Period, point blank. This is some serious shit. And these companies, with the exception of gas companies, right? These companies can't afford to waste money in the event that the economy collapses. They need to save as much money as they possibly can. And I'm not cheering or cheerleading for any kind of company. I'm just speaking the facts. You have to prepare yourself as well. If you like something, you have to know how it works. You have to know how it works. You just do. Flat out. Even Apple is having issues too. All those billions of dollars and billions of fucking phones, I guess. I think it's millions of phones. Probably millions. Millions of phones, right? This iPhone 14 wasn't hitting. You know why it wasn't hitting? It's so similar to the other phones, and people just don't have enough. They don't have the money. They don't have the money. And so all these companies are like, I'm not going to spend unnecessary money. And that's exactly what's going on with the Japanese, what's going on in Japan. What's funny is that it took Square Enix to kind of come out there and tell people that, look, I can't focus on Japan. There are certain games that will sell, and we need to focus. Actually, they're saying that, yeah, there's a possibility that a Japanese game will sell and it'll do well. But on the other side of the fence, we don't know how long it's going to sell. We don't know why it's selling the way that it is. For those particular people that like to bring up near, what is it, Autonoma or whatever the fuck that game is called, right? That's one of the things where people would like to think, oh, it's selling a lot more, it's selling a lot more. But yeah, how long? How long? People just don't know how long this is going to work, how long this is going to last. We don't have a clue. And so what companies are doing now is they're trying to gather up as much money as possible. The only way to do that is to have a lot of mass appeal. This is why Sony is moving the way that they're moving specifically, right? This is why Square Enix is moving the way that they're moving specifically. Now, of course, you're going to have the person or people that's going to bring up Nintendo. And what they're going to say is, Nintendo is making these cute games and they're making Japanese games. And I'm like, yo, Nintendo is an oasis in their own market. third-party games do not sell well. So the only games, if you're looking for quality, is going to be from them. Not only that, but they know their demographic. Even them. So I mentioned this before, and people seem to never understand this shit. It's frustrating. It's always frustrating. The handheld market shrunk, right? Nintendo's console market really shrunk. So somebody had the bright idea to combine the two. And yes, it's doing well. But keep in mind, this is because they are combined. This is a hybrid console. And since Nintendo hasn't made anything that's special or gimmicky, like Japan typically likes, something that's fun and cute or whatever the case is, it's not, people fail to understand this, right? There are hardcore fans in Japan. And the hardcore fans gobbled up the Switch. How long is that going to last? Is there a saturation mark or a point? Is there a saturation point? You know what I mean? People, what if the sales slow down? So they got 20 million people, approximately 23 million people that bought the Switch out of 100 million people, right? It's safe to assume that that's probably a lot of hardcore people. I don't think that that's random or whatever the case is. And plus the market, there are like what Square Enix says, the grain market, the aging market. They're not playing those games like they used to anymore. They're not playing those type of games. As a matter of fact, Nintendo is taking up. See, people don't want to mention this shit because people like to be ostrich and put their head in the sand. They don't get it. The cell phone market is eating up every fucking thing in Japan. And the reason why is because of, there's economy for aspects to this. People have to work a lot to make ends meet, period, in Japan. As much as technical as Japan, is, someone has to fucking make the money. Someone has to go to work, you know what I mean, and start working on these things. That's what people are not getting. Someone has to do it. Someone does, right? And so they're always on the road. You're either studying your ass off as a student, or you're working your ass off. It's not that they don't like playing games, but their taste and their gaming habits drastically changed to something handheld. And as a matter of fact, because everything is so serious, Sam, in my opinion, right? Everything is so serious over there. They're not looking for serious games. They are looking for the most childish, kid-like games there is to escape their reality. Those cute-ass games is a way for them to escape their reality of constantly working and constantly being, academically sound and all this other shit. I mean, the penalties for being an idiot in Japan are dire. So the people who typically play console games, they're getting older to the point where they can't even play those games anymore. And the young people have to make ends meet. So what do you have left? Well, the younger people have acquired a taste for cell phone games. For mobile games, for games that are simple and quick to pick up and quick to put down, and games that are not serious. Blood and gore and all this other console shit, deep ass games, and no one has time for that in Japan. They don't live in a society where, full of fucking lazy people in the United States. They are about their fucking money and they adjusted to it. See, in the United States, you have a lot of people that are on the system, you know what I mean? And they don't want to fucking do anything to fuck else, sit home and smoke marijuana and drink, and that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? And if you're not doing that, then there's some sort of guy wasting all of his money trying to simp. You know what I mean? So he's going to stay at home and she's going to go out there and she's going to be shopping, or not shopping, going to clubs and all those. It's just the market, by the way, is just different. It's just totally different. People over there are they're stressing and they want to escape their reality. So that's why the type of game that they play is what they are. Fun games, the games that take them away from their society. I hate to put it that way, but you can call it bluff. I would like to challenge anybody to fucking question why certain cute kiddie type games are selling in Japan. When you explain that shit to me, you tell me why. This is the best that I got. I don't know why a game like a Final Fantasy 16 wouldn't really sell that much, but Animal Crossing can do, and Splatoon can do like fucking 6 million in one fucking country. You tell me why that's happening. Both of those games are very simple. It just cracks me up every time I see this, right? You'll get the same people that will go out there and they'll be like, well, Nintendo can pull this off. And I keep telling people Nintendo has a specific flavor of games that no one else they're providing. As the development cycles increased, they had to buy better tools to realize their reality. And no developer is going to throw all that shit away after they purchased it to make something simpler. Nintendo never really bought these crazy ass development kits and stuff, but they don't need to. They don't need to. They don't need to, and people are going to buy their shit because no one else is making it, And just what it is. You can't sit there and like I said before, anyone that kind of criticized Sony for leaving Japan, you owe them an apology. They're not the only company that's kind of abandoning Japan. And to be honest with you, Japan, they're not abandoning Japan. Japan abandoned them. I want to see, right, since everyone was pissed off about Bayonetta 3 and how we're going to talk about the performance and shit like that, which I'm going to call the gaming standards. I want to see how much that sells in relation to Splatoon and Zelda and Animal Crossing. I wonder how much it will actually sell. I bet you it won't be fucking 3 million. I bet you. It ain't gonna do those numbers. As a matter of fact, we should probably take a look. What did Bayonetta? Let me see here. Because I know I seen that in the comments. Sony rejected Bayonetta, so Microsoft, so Nintendo's the only one that picked them up. Well, they made a shitty ass port on the PS3, so I wouldn't have picked them up either. How much did Bayonetta 3 sell? Let's take a look here. As of December 31st, it's Wikipedia, so grain of salt and all that shit, right? As of December 31st of 2021, the Switch version sold 1.04 million units worldwide. If that ain't a takeaway, I don't know what the fuck is. So there's that, right? So many people don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and it's frustrating every time I talk about shit like this. It is deeply frustrating. We have a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of fucking kids crying about why Japanese games are not on PlayStation, because deep down inside, right, they want these games to be performant. They want them to look as best as fucking possible, and Nintendo is not going to go to PC anytime soon. They're not going to go to PC. And Nintendo also won't work on their hardware, which leads me into the second topic, gaming standards. Let's take a look at this shit. I posted this shit, I think I did. Let me just take a look here. Did I? Yeah, I posted this shit in there. Digital Foundry have analyzed Bayonetta. They analyzed Bayonetta, right? And mind you, I know you guys fucking heard about God of War being in a cross-platform game and it's not really bringing anything new to a table like a modern woman. But let's take a look here, right? We got the Digital Foundry clip here. There's no audio or anything like that, but I'll read to you in case you're not on the YouTube right now. Let's put it up here. They say Bayonetta 3 is a great game, but it is difficult to overlook its problematic performance and inconsistent visuals. This was directly written by Dark One X. Right? So on this, why is this doing this? Game. There you go. Okay. They say Bayonetta 3 is here. But how does it run? I mean, they showed a performance test, right? And it's running. It's supposed to be a 60 frames per second game, by the way. And it is running at like 34 frames a second. Right? So this is what we got. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the comment section, which was really interesting, right? Of course, you got the whole memes of Nintendo having a heart attack, right? Someone says this, right? And we're going to talk about the standards because that's the thing that really kills me, right? They say Nintendo needs to step up their game. My smartphone has a better GPU and CPU and RAM than the Switch. Will be streaming platforms soon, but no third developer will be able to develop a AAA game on it. So essentially, people are pissed. Some people are pissed, but then you have the apologists, right, that are going to say things like this. Bayonetta wasn't on the Switch before if Bayonetta wasn't on the Switch before, it wouldn't exist. So what they're saying is that be lucky that you're getting a Bayonetta. Be lucky. Be glad that you're getting a Bayonetta. Because Nintendo is the only one that provided you with Bayonetta. Because Sony and Microsoft turned them down. Right? Once again, amongst many, emulators will be responsible for delivering a decent performance version. It will soon be running at 4K 60 frames per second on a PC. Which, you know, Nintendo ain't gonna do this shit. And someone was like, problematic performance, PC emulation will fix that. We need more powerful hardware, Nintendo, and PC ports. They're saying that the Sony strategy wouldn't hurt. But the problem here is that, you know, a lot of Nintendo fanboys in general, they don't want to see any of this shit because they want to gatekeep their game. Because they already know, like, that's not it. That hardware, it ain't it. And that's fine. So the problem with that is like if your hardware, like it's funny because a lot of people are calling out Nintendo. It's a $60 game and it's supposed to be 60 frames per second game, and the game runs horribly. If this was a PlayStation 5 game, man, it would have been fucking burned at the stake, or any other fucking console game. See, PC, you can kind of mix and match the shit, you know what I mean? You can kind of lower the standards on that one, but that's not what's happening here, man. The fucking hardware is old. It was old when it came out. It's old now. It's even older. It is not capable of running a lot of fucking things without crazy fucking what do you call it? Not emulation. God, what the fuck I want to say? Optimization. And in this particular case, they will have to drastically reduce the visuals even more than what it is. As a matter of fact, Digital Foundry said it looks like an original 2001 Xbox game. It looks like it's 20 years old. And the thing about it is, when it comes to gaming culture and it comes to Twitter gaming, nobody is mentioning this shit. All they're mentioning is how good the game is, gameplay wise. But I kind of wonder that too, because you look at it, right? And how good can it be if your fucking performance is shot? There were a lot of people that said that they can't play X, Y, and Z game because they can't hold a frame. As a matter of fact, they said that the game fluctuates between 55 and 60 frames a second. And they said that that was unplayable. Right? They said that that shit was unplayable. playable. But when it comes to Nintendo, there's no problem. Why are you guys so worried about performance? You act like you haven't played the 30 frames per second game. Who cares? The fun overrides the fucking technical inefficiencies. Or, you know, that's what they were saying. That's what they were saying. And the funny thing is, if Nintendo comes out with a Switch Part 2, it's still going to be insanely behind. I had a conversation with one of my friends, and we had this conversation. We were like, he mentioned the art style. He says that Zelda was a really good looking game, art-wise. And I don't think, he kind of said this on the slide, right? He said, I don't think that you need crazy hardware. And I was like, yes, you actually do kind of need better hardware. There are a lot of things that you could do other than visuals, right? Such as frame rate. That's one of the things that better hardware could yield. Other things too, like in Zelda, right? The towns were fucking desolate. They had towns there, but it was no one in that bitch. And the developers have to make a story as to why people aren't in the fucking city. You know what I mean? So that impacts the game directly. If it had better hardware, maybe they'll have a bustling city. You don't need it to look like a fucking Uncharted or anything like that. You just, a lot of specs. You know what I mean? Maybe smarter AI. A lot of things could go into that. More fucking puzzles that you can use. More physics and shit like that. You know what I mean? Because even in Zelda, man, that shit was running at 15 to 20 frames a second when you went into the forest and it was raining. No one said anything about that either, but that could have been chalked up as, optimization. But now we come to this crossroads and the standards of gamers is ridiculous now. That shit's fucking insane to me. How do you lower your standards so fucking low for Nintendo? How does that work? I get it. That's your childhood. I get it. You had a lot of fun times with GoldenEye and Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time. I get it. Smash Brothers. I mean, this is no longer 1998 or 2003. This is 2022. It's to the point now where Nintendo literally can get away with anything. And I wouldn't have a problem if people kept that same fucking energy when it came to other fucking games. There were literal people saying that they will not buy Gotham Knight because that shit, right, is nearly, on consoles and PCs, this is a 30 frames per second game, right? It is nearly a locked 30 frames per second. People have polls saying that people prefer to play 60 frames per second games, right? On the PlayStation 5. And there are a lot of people that didn't want to play Horizon because there was no 30 frames per, or there was no 60 frames per second mode that also carried insane graphics. People were literally thinking a game like Horizon Forbidden West could run at 60 frames per second with that fidelity. And 4K too. Motherfuckers are pixel counting. You got games that are like 1920p, 1800p, right? And motherfuckers are saying that's unacceptable. A game drops 3 or 4 frames. This is also facilitated by Digital Foundry. They've been saying bullshit like this all the fucking time too. They will literally say the game has an unstable frame rate. It makes it unplayable. You got fucking, what they call it again? Improper frame pacing. The game could be running at a lock 60. I can't play it because it jitters. But when it comes to Nintendo, oh, you can't say nothing bad about them motherfuckers. You know what they say? It's a great game, but it's just a little difficult to overlook the problematic performance and inconsistent visuals. For your game to run at 60, it's locked at 60 frames per second. For your game to run like that, right? It's, mind you, it's locked. For your game to be locked at 60 and the performance is literally 34 to 40 frames a second That is not problematic. That is deplorable. That is awful performance. Period. No matter how you look at the situation. And let's talk about its competitor, right? Which is going to be called Stellar Blade. Let's talk about that. Because you know Stellar Blade is definitely going to have like a performance mode. It's already, the tribe has spoken when it came to this game, right? They have spoken. Console players want 60 frames per second modes and 30 frames per second modes. They want it. And they will get it. And that's fine, right? No problems with that. But here's another thing, because it's not all about performance, right? Bayonetta, right? Whatever the character is, I don't know her name. She's a demon. Her hair covers her body. And there are some times where she gets stripped into, like, she's completely naked. And there are scenes where she's naked and she's bouncing up on a horse and they're making a little boing, boing, boing sound, right? And Digital Foundry says nothing about this. They say it's a great game. But the same thing that happens with Stellar Blade, right? AKA Project Eve. Where she just has very fit clothing. And these people say it was juvenile. Juvenile to be dressed like this. It just feels like it was back in the early 2000s. And it just was distasteful. But then when it comes to Bayonetta, there's no problem. Is this a Nintendo thing? Why is it a problem on PlayStation? Would it have been a problem on Xbox? It kills me because the standards are so inconsistent. Nobody is able to keep the same energy. What's going on, Gaming Night? They're not able to keep the same energy at all when it comes to shit like this, which blows me away. You can't talk about performance if you have a Nintendo Switch. Ever. If you were enjoying your Nintendo Switch, yo, shut the hell up. Because you can't talk about performance. Performance ain't it. Not it. That is something that you cannot talk about. And I stand firmly with that. You can't talk about performance. You can't complain about frame rate. Shit, I was looking at fucking Splatoon. In that game, for the most part, have some frame rate issues. And it comes to a point now when Digital Foundry, and I get it, they're a tech enthusiast site and channel. These guys will go and throw a smoke grenade in the grass. Dig all up in the grass, kick up smoke, blow things up to try to buckle the frame rate to get a frame or two below. People say that A Plague Tale Requiem, right? They said that the frame rate on the PlayStation 3 was problematic. And the only time you got very small instances, right, where you have a frame or two lost, right? But the most notable, which is where I think at most it dropped 10 frames. I think it would drop 6 frames, not 10, but 6 frames, right? The most notable. And that's when 300,000 rats bursts through a doorway. And for whatever reason, the PlayStation 5 couldn't handle it. And these guys are running around stating that the game has an inconsistent frame rate and that you got to get the better version, which is the Xbox Series X console version. Shit, the S console was performing better too, which is interesting. That should automatically let anyone know that this is an optimization issue. I guess, you know, especially since it was on Game Pass day and date, maybe they just didn't put a lot of effort into the PlayStation 5 version. But I digress. Regardless of the matter, you say get the better one. Why? Because of 3 frames? like 3 to 6 frames for one instant. That's the better version. But you got a game where it's highly sexualized, it's deliberately going after the male gaze, and it performs terrible, and it looks like a 20-year-old game. There ain't nothing next gen or current gen or last gen about this game. Nothing. Everyone is under the impression that the Switch cannot do it, and thus they don't even bother to complain about it. That sound weird to you guys or what? Just saying, that's some weirdo shit. It's weird. Why are the standards so fucking crazy? Why is it all over the place? Why can't the gamers keep their standards on point? Why can't they? You sat there and said that you're not going to get Gotham. You're not going to get Gotham because it doesn't run at 60 frames a second. That's what you said, right? That's what you guys said. Doesn't run at 60 frames a second. That's a no from me. As a matter of fact, I'll get it on PC. That's what y'all said. Come to find out that PC can't even run that fucking shit either. A Plague Tale Requiem. You didn't want to play that game because, oh dear God, it's running at 30 frames a second. Never mind the resolution at 1440p, but like it's running at 30 frames. Oh, I can't buy it. It's too much. I can't buy the game. Why would we play in 30 frames? It's choppy. I can't see. You don't understand. Even from friends, I will sit there and I will have these conversations, right, with them, and they will sit there and say that Horizon is not really playable right now. I can't go back. It's hard for me to play it. God of War, I can't play that shit. They better have a fucking 60. As a matter of fact, they better have 120 frames per second mode. You know, I remember Ratchet and Clank came out, right, for the PS5, and they were sitting there, oh my gosh, I can't ever go back to a 30 frames per second game. And I'm like, niggas, y'all are fucking my age. You're in their mid to late 30s. Talking about you can't come back to 30 frames per second. And that's all you've done. And you act like in the PlayStation 2, 3, and 4 generation, you didn't have 60 frames per second. So it's not like this is a new concept for you. For some reason, when it comes to Sony, the standards are absolutely flopped. The amount of effort that Sony has to put in there in all of their games is astonishing compared to Nintendo. We can't really talk about Microsoft because they're not even a part of this conversation. What games are they playing? What games? But it's just funny to me how people literally they can't wrap their head. They can't play. You know, like I said before, it was a PlayStation 5 game. And people were saying that I cannot play a 30 frames per second game. It needs to have a performance. Demon's Souls, I can't play it at 30 frames per second. I cannot. Then you get a game that's 30 frames per second, which is Gotham Knights, and they say I can't play it, but then you buy it anyway. Like, I don't understand. If you're going to keep that same energy, keep that same energy, please. Keep that same energy. If anybody knows, move that shit. Move my camera. If anybody knows me, my energy is always kept equal. I don't really care about 30 frames, 60 frames a second. I've never cared about it. I know it exists. I know that much. Do I care? Not really. No. Not really. Not at all. Because to be honest with you, so long as the input latency is not low, to the point where I feel like I'm walking in mud, right? Or, the frame rate isn't bad, I'll go over visuals. I'll go after visuals more than anything. That's what I would do. And I have no shame in my game. No shame in my game when it comes to the shit that I'm looking for. Like, I'm deadly serious when it comes to that shit. I like my 30 frames per second games. Keep the visuals at a fucking maximum, as high as you can get it, and make sure that shit is at a near flawless 30 frames per second. I'll take that hit, and I wouldn't give a fuck about it. I wouldn't care. But you guys are fraudulent, because you guys be having switches, and you say that you need performance, which doesn't make any sense to me. You can't sit there and say that you need performance. What is going on here? The fuck? My bad, I'm still working. You know, I work from home and shit like that. I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. Alright, so 2:35. Okay. Yeah, but that's what it is. And that's what I wanted to kind of talk about. The standards of gamers are just all over the place. I don't know how many times I can really say it, but it is. It's all over the place. I need you to get that shit together. And as a matter of fact, let's go back to Nintendo. Why are they able to get away with what they're able to get away with? Why is that a thing? Why are they able to release such poor quality or mediocrity or something that doesn't push a technical fucking medium in any real meaningful direction? Why are they able to get away with that? Why is that a thing for people? Why, like, somebody needs to really call them the fuck out. Call them out. You should have higher standards than what you are receiving. Nobody cares. Really? That's some wild shit to me. Nobody cares about what Nintendo is doing. Nobody at all. It was fun. I don't care. So it's okay. So go back to fucking N64 if it's so fucking fun. Why don't you do that? We know you won't. We know you won't. You ain't gonna go back there. You're not gonna go back there because guess what? You don't want to go back there. Because you're looking for something that's decent graphically. You don't want to go back to fucking N64 graphics. You know damn well you don't want that shit. Why are you guys lying like this? I don't understand. Why you guys are accepting the fact that Nintendo doesn't cater to third-party developers, you know what I'm saying? But you want Sony to fucking cater to every fucking thing. Why are you guys not mentioning that shit, you know? What's going on with that? I want to know that. Once again, why are they able to get away with the shit that they're able to get away with is beyond me. Fuck the Metacritic. Fuck the Metacritic. You should be better than that as consumers. You have no problem telling Nintendo or telling PlayStation what the fuck to do. It's so bad that the PlayStation, they don't know whether to censor games or let things out to do 60 frames or 30 frames. They don't know what the fuck to do. Because there's so many fucking complaints all over the place. So you tell me, why are you allowing them to do this? I don't know. Ask yourself that question, yo. If you see somebody in the fucking community and they sit there and say that I don't have a problem with what Nintendo is doing, you need to ask them why. And you need to you need to gatekeep the shit. Look at their shit on Twitter. Look at their shit on Twitter. And see how much they're complaining about something. And then ask them, since I know you guys be clocking people's shit on Twitter, ask them, Why are you not saying the same thing about Nintendo? Raggedy, old ass fucking games. Animal Crossing ain't nothing but what they did a whole, 15, 20 years ago. When this shit came out for the GameCube. Zelda was one of the only ones that they really went out their way and did something big. Mario was always going to have a gimmick and keep it the fuck moving. And then all the other fucking Ace games and the other RPG games, I don't know what the fuck they are. They're the same fucking shit repainted in a different story. You tell me, where's the innovation? Because that shit is in spades on PlayStation. They gotta do what the fuck they gotta do. Shameful. Shameful. But listen, this video has been recorded on YouTube at Illicit Therapy. So if you guys missed the first half, or you want to go back or clip or whatever the hell you want to do, is there for you. I would appreciate the support. Make sure you guys like the video, you know, and just to show the algorithm what's going on. I'm trying to keep my cussing down at a minimum because apparently you get shadow banned. It's fucking crazy on YouTube. It's crazy on YouTube. So I need all the support I can get. And by the way, you guys can DM me. I was thinking about doing a music reaction section where I look at a song and I analyze the music, because I like music a lot. So let me know if I should do that or shouldn't. But either way, I am out. I really appreciate you guys jumping in, and peace.